3AW footy highlights for McDonald's.
Parker, he's got it on a 45-degree angle, only 20 to 25 out, and we'll go back and line up for the first goal of the night. And he kicks the goal.
Zaharakis from directly out and from 35 out to kick the Bombers' first goal. He got it.
McDonald, Tip and Woody for the lead. For the Bombers' second, dead in front, 40 out, goal.
Big mark taken in the forward pocket by Fox. The flying Fox bends it around towards goal, and he's kicked the behind of the night. Pancake parlour behind of the night, not so lovely.
Papley's going to take the kick before the stoppage. Drop punter's on the way, and it's a goal.
Ball comes out towards Sinclair. Oh, he danced through, stand through, and kicked the goal of the night. It's a pancake parlour goal of the night.
Action-packed opening quarter, reports, injuries, and the Swans lead it by 6 points, 3-3-21 to Essendon, 2-3-15. That is on the Chemist Warehouse scoreboard. Friday night footy for McDonald's. Let's get down to the boundary line. Jackie Reid there for Master Builders.
Yeah, still no signs of Matty D just yet. I understand he hasn't gone to hospital. I think he was conscious as he went off, so that is a good news for the Bombers. Just looking out at the huddle now, Jake Stringer had a little bit of work done on his ribs. That might have been from that behind post collision straight away after the first bounce of the game. I did see the trainer go up to him after that and he brushed to the side, but I think he is a little bit sore. And Matt Guelphy looks fine with that knee. He's walking on it fine now and he should participate in the rest of the game.
Good on you, Jackie. And Lloydie and Shorey. Well, we didn't even have an opening bounce tonight with that report Zach Jones reported for striking Zach Merritt. I mean, so many incidents to discuss and not long enough to discuss them all.
Oh, it was a great quarter of football, wasn't it? But yeah, when I said a couple of times that both sides were keeping their forward structures, well, it's exactly what they're doing. 6 against 6 up each end. So they haven't tried to drop one behind play at the moment that I can see, unless they've changed it in this centre bounce. But a lot of stats really close. I just thought one thing. They really held up well, the Swans' defence, even though they're 3 down and inside 50s. I thought Rampy was fantastic. Zach Jones, even though he got reported, was really good coming off half-back. So maybe just a bit more penetration and a forward target other than the smalls for Essendon would be the way to go here. But, yeah, very even contest, all statistically on a par.
Yeah, winning the clearances for Corrimal Winter Caravans. 10-6 for Swans, and George Hewitt is now on merit, working him over in the midfield.
Yes, and Zach Jones starting the second quarter on the bench. Maybe an issue with his left shoulder. Second quarter for Tyre Power. Still no clearance. Hewitt with a handball to Kennedy. The Sydney skipper with the first kick of the quarter. Goddard got clattered into by McCartney.
Gee, that was a late call by the umpire.
And he is very...
Was it what? He was waiting to see if he was
injured. Good call, Dwayne.
Very ginger to get up.
Great courage too there by Goddard.
Certainly was. Gave it off to Heppel. The Essendon captain kicks to centre half forward. Thump back almost towards the centre circle. Into the path of Hooker. Handball to Heppel. Kicks out very wide. Guelphy, who's back out there, gathers the footy. Steps around Florent. Little 30-metre dainty sort of short pass which landed between Merritt and also Stringer. It's in dispute at ground level. Swans looking for the boundary line. Merritt keeps it alive, but then handball straight to Jake Lloyd, who hoofs it quickly off a step.
Big fly McCartan can't mark it. Guelphy crumbs it. And he kicked his boot and the ball inside 50. Don't mark the boot. Lear nearly marks the ball. Hits the deck. Parrish gave it up just in time. Langford around the body towards full forward. Bouncing ball. Lloyd about to get there. Ugly bounce. McDonald, Tip and Woody cuts him down. He did get a legal handball away. Ball forward pocket Bombers. Umpire circling. Waiting for a noise of affirmation. No, Sydney Swans free.
Yeah, dragged it in there, Mark Bagley.
But Swans ball back pocket. Sorry, Lloydie.
That's right. And down the other end, Franklin. Hurley had him rattled in that first quarter, so Franklin yet to have an influence. And for the Bombers, Rampy's all over Stringer at the moment. He can't get in the game.
Nick Smith with the resultant free kick, long and strong down the line. Goddard climbed very high. Might have been on the back of, was it young Dawson, I think. And no mark taken, and off hands it trickles out of bounds. So 2 minutes into the second term. Guelphy kicking his boot almost as far as the ball. It has all been happening tonight. From the restart, right half forward for the Bombers. Florent, half a handball out towards Dawson, who was run down. It was Hayward, in fact, and he is penalised. And the resultant free kick, is it Langford or...
Yeah, Langford.
It is Langford. So sign that contract extension, 2-year contract extension during the week. He's at right half forward, kicks it about 25 out. McDonald, Tip and Woody didn't contest. And in the end, Aliir takes an easy mark and goes lateral.
So Lloyd from the back pocket to Papley. Nice delivery. Marks on defensive 50. Holds it up. Waits. Thinks about it. Thinks a little longer. Goes all the way back to full-back. Dangerous kick. Lloyd had to backtrack. And he's in the defensive goal square, and he goes to Aliir, other back pocket. So they've switched sides, but it hasn't really worked. Aliir hemmed in.
Switches on again here. Rampy's on the other side of the ground.
It's almost a rope-a-dope here from the Bombers. They're leaving a man free, almost tempting them to do it. Aliir down the line. Sinclair flies. Hayward crumbs. Throws a handball over his head. Got it to Ronk. Hand up was good, but now free kick here. Swans way. Now it's going to Ronk. Little nudge in the back, I think, as he was handballing. So he's got it on the wing. 3-3 to 2-3. Sydney by a goal. Heads wide with it. Parker floats in and beaten by his opposite 26 in Hooker, who's playing a pretty good game at the moment, marked on offensive 50.
He's on Tom McCartan, so he's not too worried about McCartan, so he's just been able to float across and help in the air.
Hooker waits the pass. Guelphy went one-handed and then picked up the crumb. Got a handball back to Langford. Handball inboard to Goddard. Handball forward to Zaharakis. Steps around Hayward and kicks to right half forward. Aliir there. Also Bagley, who goes to ground. And the Swans will get out of trouble with a quick kick there. Might have been Nick Smith, but it's coming straight back. It was straight to Stringer. He waited the pass. Parrish watched it float over his left shoulder and then took the easy chest mark. It might have been Cunningham with that errant clearing kick for the Swans, and he's now standing the mark at 35 directly in front. And Darcy Parrish has a chance to level the scores with the opening score of this second quarter, which is 4 1/4 minutes old.
He found himself in the VFL and without a role in this team, Parrish, so he's really made a good fight back the last 2 or 3 weeks as an inside midfielder.
Turn 21 on Wednesday for a late birthday present. Darcy Parrish, drop punt, is a goal. And scores are level, 3-3, 21 each of 2. That's on the Tyre Power scoreboard, 4.5 into the second. Here's Tony Shaw and Matthew Lloyd on Friday night, 3AW football.
Well, just probably one of the first times they lowered their eyes. I reckon Aliir's been really good. He hasn't played. I'm trying to pick up who he's playing on, Lordy. It's a smaller type, but he's just really read the ball well. But on that occasion, well done the Stringer. Bad kick out from the defensive Sydney Swans. If you're going to make a mistake, make it wide and make it long.
Yeah, you're right, actually. You look at Aliir, he's picked up smalls. So he's just taking obviously the least dangerous forward. He's now taking Mitch Brown, who hasn't been a factor at all, but he had Andrew McGrath for a lot of the first quarter.
So, bad bounce. There's 3 seconds we'll never get back. Has been a bit of talk about changing the rule.
Oh, no.
So the clock doesn't start until someone touches the ball, which I kind of like, but leave the bloody game alone. Long kick inside 50. Aliir. Big grab.
Gee, hasn't done. He look like he's improved.
Full back and centre half back, and he backtracks.
Mark 5 for Aliir.
He's hurt himself, Aliir.
Yep.
Hands it off to Lloyd. Yeah, it's a thigh that he's looking at. Rampy wobbles one towards the wing. Parker goes up with the fist, knocked it down. Heppel tried to crumb it and go. He was hassled out of it. Parker's got it. Kick to Sinclair. Clark got there just in time. Sinclair crumbs it. Kicks around the body towards centre half forward. McCartan maybe just within range. He's got Butt in the pocket. He called to play on. Shouldn't have. Gave it up to Dawson. He kicks from 48 and he misses. Only behind.
Aliir coming off, Dwayne.
Jackie Reid downstairs.
Yes, Aliir has just come off. He was pointing to his left leg, so I'm sure that they're about to assess that now. The doctor's having a look at him.
Busy night for you down there, Jackie.
Yeah.
As Heppel inboard to Hooker. Left foot kick almost to centre wing. Parrish at ground level went without it. Myers with the big body comes storming through. Looped a handball to McGrath. Concedes ground by hand to Merritt. Concedes ground by hand to Heppel. The skipper kicks to 2 pairs of players. They all miss it. At ground level, McDonald, Tip and Woody, little fumble, but socket it forward. Zach Jones gets there first. Claimed in a tackle by Devon Smith. The ball squirts out the back of the contest. Then it's dragged back in. Umpire Schmidt having a good look at it. Almost stuck the whistle in the gob. Myers then emerges with it. Kicks around the corner. Mark wasn't going to be paid. Stringer takes on 2 Swans. No prior opportunity, says the field umpire, as we see Aliir limping down the race. In fact, Gillon McLaughlin had to get out of the way for him to get down there as the ball's thrown up quickly near the boundary line.
Yeah, Gill and Steve Hocking standing in the race watching this one.
Something
unfold.
a bit different, Dwayne. There's something on there. I don't know what they're trying to do. Probably they're not looking at rules or that, but maybe getting close to the action.
Or maybe because all the seats were sold,
are gone.
There's no seats left for
the
them.
CEO can't get one.
Or they had someone outside who didn't have a seat and Gill's given him his.
Can come and sit in the box with us.
Well, between Lordy and Shuri, someone needs to sit there the way the pre-game carry on. Parrish has got it on the wing. Gave it up just in time. Tried to feed it to Heppel. Missed him by hand. And, in fact, it was Merritt that gave the handball. And we'll get a ball in on the wing. 3-3-21 to 3-4-22. 8 minutes gone. Second term brought to you by Tyre Power.
Gee, that's a big loss of Lear.
It is. And all the defenders in this game are on top of the forwards at the moment. So no forward has got hold of this game. And one's Fantasia right down. Nick Smith just locking down on him for most of this night so far.
Bellchambers won the tap. Heaney picked up the crumb, but at the same time as he was gathering the football, Langford was gathering him. No prior opportunity and a throw up this time. Sinclair wins the tap. Same thing again though, straight to Heaney, who had Langford right alongside him. Big tackle. In fact, Myers was the tackler on Heaney on that occasion.
Isaac Heaney's had a quiet year this year, boys, but met some really high standards last year.
Another quick throw up. Down from Kennedy, gets the little handball to Jake Lloyd. The ball sort of bobbles around. It's in dispute, almost a left half forward for the Bombers. Bagley was good. Handball to Bellchambers. His handball was battered down, though, by O'Riordan. Zach Merritt emerges with it, closes to 60, right on the boundary line. Centering ball. Grundy thumps it away from Mitch Brown. Tries to go back and get it. Bagley's there. Myers arrives. Comes back to Bagley. Right foot snaps the goal.
Pressure.
Terrific pressure, Shuri. And the Bombers take the lead. Only 2 goals of the second term have been Essendon's. 4-3-27. Sydney 3-4-22. Tyre Power scoreboard. And we are 9.5 minutes into the second stanza.
Well, forward pressure, it creates the easiest sort of goals you can get. And let me tell you, the first time they went forward, I know it was only a scrappy kick, but Noah Lear. The bloke who's been blocking him most of the night, he's down the race now having a look at a problem that he's got. But yeah, just fantastic forward pressure, as Lloydie said earlier in the call. This is one area of the game they've really lifted last month.
Yeah, they can't take a mark inside 50s, but now with the Lear off, it opens up plenty. And Bagley's now got 14 goals for the year, which is a pretty good return.
And the body language on the bench for the Swans is that Lear might not be able to take any further part in the game. Free kick Bombers to McDonald, Tip and Woody.
So it's 21 against 21.
Yes, McDonald, Tip and Woody short to McKenna was just the required 12. And McKenna thumps it towards the top of the square. Brown got there, couldn't mark it though. And Cunningham's hurt.
He's got a knee in the back.
Absolutely. And Rampy scrambles it away towards the wing. McCartan, can he get there to attempt a mark? Ball not down towards the boundary. And free kick Bombers for infringement to Francis in the marking contest, and he has got it on the wing. More bad news downstairs.
Yeah, Yarra Valley and Croydon Total replay. Now Stringer gone down the race. We heard Jackie say he had a rib problem, which he copped in that first quarter.
We might end up with like an AFL X game by the end. There might be about 10 players left per side. Now, turnovers galore, and eventually
That'll wreck the
Francis
integrity of it.
takes the mark on the Yarra Valley and Croydon Toyota logo. Centre wing, City side. Long kick. Bellchambers from fourth in line takes the mark on the second attempt. 40 out on a 45-degree angle as Harry Cunningham now is coming off looking very, very sore. It's going to take an awful long time for him to get off the ground. He's still got about 120 metres to go, and he can barely put one foot in front of the other.
It's one of those knocks you really worry about for a player, those internal injuries where he got the knee from Mitch Brown straight into the side. So let's hope he's okay, but he doesn't look like he can move at all
struggling
the rest of this game.
Bellchambers, slow, deliberate approach from 48. He hangs it out to the right, and it is a minor score. So the Bombers lead by a goal, 4-4-28. Sydney 3-4-22. Tyre Power scoreboard, and there's still 11:34 remaining in the second term.
So the Swans down 2, Bombers down 1. In terms of men on the bench, Parker floats in, can't mark it. McCartan slips, and that allows Parrish to get back and collect it. Sends it back inside 50 for the Bombers. Heppel can't get there, and a good mark taken by Heaney. Between back pocket and centre half back. Cunningham still with trainers. We'll go down to Jackie Reid shortly if there's an update. Ball toward the wing, towards Parker. Gets up early. Great grab. He's held out. Umpire's calling to play on, and then he said no mark.
Just a Corrimal Windsor Caravan stat. Inside 50s this quarter, 11-1 in favour of the Bombers.
Parker thinks about popping it over the top to Papley, and he eventually does it on about the third cry from Papley to kick it to me. He then darts it back inboard to Fox. Parker sort of walks past him. He could have handballed it to that player. Instead, he retreated to Jake Lloyd, who goes lateral to Nick Smith, the trusty left footer. He pops it over the top to Zach Jones, to the boos of the Essendon crowd. Reported in the opening, at the opening bounce for striking Zach Merritt. Darts a little one inboard, barely the required distance to Grundy, who helicopters one across the ground. It's an awkward, horrible spinning thing. Rampy could sense McDonald Tipperwoody was coming, and the young bomber won the contest emphatically. Handball to Zaharakis. Handballs then to Francis. Sweeps handball to McDonald Tipperwoody. The 1-2 back to Francis. He's confronted there by Hayward, or in fact it was Jake Lloyd. High up and under kick, and easily chopped off by Grundy at right half back. And the Swans will reload again.
He turned the footy over there, Francis, but the pressure by Essendon, it's just slow ball movement here from Sydney. They don't look like getting the ball inside 50.
No, you hit it right on, and Ali's come back on.
Yeah, big strapping on his knee, so he's got to test that out now. See how it goes. Fox has it. Wobbles one out wide to Kennedy. Bounced it to him. Kennedy on a half-back flank. Floats it towards the wing. Heaney up, and good grab. Second grab, and that's almost 50. Oh, that's bad work by Parrish. He gave away the 50. That's got to put Heaney about 40 out from goal for a set shot to maybe tie these scores.
Yeah, that's why I just hate this 50-metre penalty. Like a tap out, and it is a 50-metre penalty, no doubt. Just hit the ball. Don't agree with you, Shorey? Yeah, no, you got his hand involved. You just don't touch them when they're like that.
Yep, absolutely. So 9 minutes left, second term for Tyre Power. This kick to tie the scores from 40 directly out. Ali's back on. He tries the drop punt goal, but he likes it. He loves it. Wouldn't mind getting Franklin's stats from you, Lordy, at the 14-minute mark of the second term, if you can. 4-4-28 apiece.
Had one kick in the first quarter and yet to touch it in this second quarter. So one kick for the whole game. And Michael Hurley, well, he's... 4 disposals, so hasn't had as much ball as he normally would. But Franklin's come off the ground a fair bit. Hurley comes off with him, so he's making sure he can run with him for the whole night. Why
wouldn't you give him 5 minutes on the ball? Just throw him on the ball to see if he can release him. See what Essendon do with Hurley going back. So I think they've got 5 players in the centre best square here at the moment, and they just got out Alir.
It's a good point, Shorey, particularly when they can't get the ball in there.
That's right.
And who's that in the crowd, Shore? Dwayno? Ben Simmons?
Ben Simmons in the crowd. That's a good effort,
Bombers
I think.
Supporter.
Absolutely. He and a number of other basketballers love the Bombers.
What an action-packed night. We're barely over the halfway mark of the second quarter from the restart. Myers with the clearance. It's a dribbling kick, which almost gets the full forward. Alir gathers it, but goes to ground. You have to wonder whether that's the knee injury. He's been pinged. He's been pinged. Mitch Brown with the tackle, which I would suggest barely was the thing that knocked out the footy.
Let's see how he got rid of it.
Oh gee. Not sure about that. They're very harsh. Yeah. So Mitch Brown to take the free kick. Alir stands the mark at about 38 metres. And he's doubled over at the moment. You have to wonder about the fitness or health of that left knee as Mitch Brown's drop punt is out to the right. And he misses in game number 50. 4-5-29 the Bombers, 4-4-28 the Swans.
Lordy, you are the celebrity spotter. Was there any Kardashian in the vicinity of Ben Simmons?
No, Kendall was not there. Kendall,
right. I knew you'd know your Kardashian.
The best one too.
Short pass is good. He's the best one. I'll get you to run through your top 5 Kardashians during the halftime break. Fantasia back towards the top of the square. Alir takes the mark. Jackie downstairs.
Dyson Heppel's come off the ground. He's getting a little bit of work done on his right hip. Matt D has returned. He's on the second row of the bench now. No sign of Harry Cunningham. He got his lower back checked before he went down to the rooms.
Your favourite Kardashian, Jackie?
Oh, I like Chloe, actually. I feel bad for her over recent years. She's had a few people cheat on her.
Long wing. Little editorial comment from our boundary rider. Got to love that. Zaharakis was out of play and we'll get a ball in.
I'm embarrassed my kids watch it.
4-4 to 4-5, by the way. 17 minutes gone, second term for Tyre Power, and it's the Bombers in front by that point. Beef, I won't even ask you.
No. Can I defer to my eldest daughter, Holly? What are their names? What are the
Kim?
Well, they all
Kim's
start with
one.
K, so that's not
Chloe,
hard.
Courtney, Kylie.
Is that Chloe with the K rather than a C, is it?
Yep.
Okay.
And, what's his name?
Come on, Shorey. Don't pretend that you know them as well. From the boundary throw-in, we'll have a throw-up. So you didn't miss anything, folks, as we were discussing why are they famous? Anyway, we'll talk about that post-game.
Good point.
I've got no idea. I ask my daughter that often. Dawson wins the tap down to Heaney. Gang tackle by a couple of Bombers. Gee, that was harsh as well. That was dynamite. Myers to take the free kick. 65 to 70 from home. He is a long kick and he'll set it up to about 15 out from goal. O'Leary mistimed his jump and missed the ball. Nick Smith, though, he's going to see it through for a rushed behind. 4-4-28 the Swans. That, in fact, doubles the Bombers' lead. They move to 4-6-30. Tyre Power scoreboard still 7-10 remaining in the second term.
They've got to start scoring with the dominance they've had there, Lloydie.
Yeah, you're right.
Long kick. Francis flies, Hayward flies, ball not down, McGrath thumped towards the McKenna in the boundary and that rolls out of play and will get a ball in just the Bombers side of the city side wing of Etihad Stadium. Massive crowd in, including Ben Simmons, as we told you. Jones reported, D done for the night, concussed, taken off on a stretcher. It's been action-packed in the game, certainly living up to expectations right now.
From the boundary throw-in, it's heading back towards the chalk, and the players can't keep it in the field of play. So another throw-in, a bit closer to the Essendon goal, probably 75 metres around from the Bombers' goal. They're kicking to the Fletcher end in this term. Who's that now you're spotting on the...
Not sure who that was.
That's Hugh Jackman.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was Hugh Jackman.
Wolverines here, absolutely.
From the restart, Zach Jones weaves through some traffic and spots up Luke Parker. Essendon fans are saying he played on. Umpire now calls him to go. Low searching ball to left half forward. Pack of about 6 flying at the back. Buddy kept his feet. Then going to ground. Handball to Nick Newman. He's a long kick. Steps inboard. Steps outboard. He's on his left foot. Tight angle and kicks the goal of the night. Nick Newman with a pancake parlour ripper.
Lovely.
And the Swans take the lead with that piece of magic. That was a brilliant goal from the chunky Swans midfielder. 5-4-34 Sydney, 4-6-30 the Bombers. Tyre Power scoreboard.
He won't be calling the AFLW.
Was that what?
Chunky.
He's chunky, solidly built Nick Newman.
I don't know, Chunky. Chunky?
Yeah, Chunky's all right.
Okay, 5-4, plays 4-6. 20 minutes gone, second term.
And Harry Cunningham's come back onto the ground, boys, so might have put some padding and a little bit of elephant juice into that, I reckon, into his rib.
Elephant juice.
Sure, he just touched on it too. The Bombers not making the most of their opportunity. So 13-3 inside 50s, yet it's 2 goals apiece.
You better look up elephant juice and
retract. Well, they used it with the horses. They used it in Perth a few times.
I think they'll be putting that in. Merritt's got it up to Sard. He has a bounce through the wing. Made that 2 bounces. Thought about 3. Barrels 1. Aliir goes with the knuckles. And he fists it out of play. And he's getting near everything that comes his way right now.
He's a ripper.
Who would you rather be, Shorey? Hugh Jackman or Ben Simmons?
Oh, probably Benny.
Bit younger.
bit taller.
I think they make more money too.
Yeah, Ben's going all right at the moment. Ball back into play.
Don't think Hugh's struggling.
Sinclair from the front. Ball knocked down. And Jones crunched into the deck. Picked up by Smith. Slung out of one tackle. Then caught high. It was holding the ball before he got caught high. I reckon the umpire was okay with that decision. He was definitely caught high, but it was holding the ball first. Heaney at fullback, all the way back to the back pocket. And gave it to Fox. He gave it to Lloyd. He slips it out wide to Cunningham. He's back on miraculously. And the old one too. It's got him running the wing. Feeds it all the way back. Dance step from Papley is good on the wing. He goes into the middle to Parker. He reaches and pulls it down with one paw. Heads wide towards Rampy on the wing. 34 plays 30. Swans lead. Kick forward is good. Hewitt's got it, but too far out to score. Buddy, who's hardly seen the thing, couldn't draw you a Sharon right now. Goes inside to Jones. He in turn to Rampy. Looks up, keeps it low. Almost Heppel, almost a free. Umpire said no. Umpire could well have paid it, but there was no noise of affirmation. And Sard gives it to Smith, and the Bombers are out of defence.
Yeah, take forwards here, Beaver. They're all pushed back.
Took an early bounce. Handball to Fantasia, who was cannoned into by Rampy. Got rid of it quickly. Still feeling that Fantasia. And McGrath over the boundary line. Zach Jones gives him a shove for good measure. And umpire Sean Ryan says to his boundary umpire mate, throw it in. Right below our commentary position.
Tell you what, Devon Smith just threw the leg out to Parker, and we had a bit last week with Daniel Howe got 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
He did, yeah. But he broke a leg.
Didn't have as much force.
No, it didn't break the leg.
Bell Chambers wins the tap. Devon Smith, quick handball to Zaharakis, then got it back. He's running out towards the boundary line as Cunningham gives chase. Handballs over that player's head to Heppel, who gathers on the bounce. All the Swans sweat off the Essendon captain, so he kicks down the line. And Alir, well, he did all the good work to get rid of Stringer and then dropped the chest mark, and it trickled over the boundary line. 65 around for the Essendon goal. We're 23 minutes into the second term. Sydney lead it by 4 points. 5-4-34. The Bombers 4-6-30, and that is on the Tyre Power scoreboard.
Stringer still arguing with the umpires. Got to concentrate here.
And you're right, Devon Smith's throw out of the leg did not look nice. Lucky there was no repercussion, and it still perplexes me how Alir didn't get more footy last year.
Or this year, I know.
The long
stint this year. How many games he played this year, Beaver? It would only be a handful.
Tonight's just his seventh game.
Yeah.
And you think how sadly he was missed in the grand final in 2016 after that preliminary final injury.
Almost looking like one of the best defenders in the comp. Had he played a full year, might have been All-Australian bound. Quick kick towards the boundary and it bounces out of play.
You're right, Dwayne. He's one of those defenders that worries you too. Stringer's now not going at the ball as hard as he should because of the marking ability of Alir. Stringer, just 3 disposals. Alir has had 6 marks.
Runner just went out to Stringer too, boys, so they might push him up in the midfield to see what happens with Alir.
Of course, the Swans announced a 3-year contract extension for Alir about 48 hours ago. From the restart, there is going to be a throw-up from that boundary throw-in with players crashing in from all sides. Last man up, the Sydney captain, Josh Kennedy. Umpire Schmidt throws the ball up quickly. Sinclair wins it down to Jake Lloyd. Handball to Kennedy, said it's your problem. Handball to Heaney. Handball to Zach Jones under pressure from Devon Smith. Stripped to the footy, in fact. Parrish with a handball to Merritt. Deliberate underground handball to Bagley. Handballs back to Parrish. Kicks awkwardly and high. McDonald, Tippenwoody hits the contest really hard. And the ball again is out of bounds, about 20 around from the Essendon goal. Clock stops with 3:38 remaining, and it's the Swans leading by 4 points. What are we seeing with that vision of Dyson Heppel next to the bench? Did he want a little swig of beer then?
And the fan might have wanted to give him a pat on the back, which I know that some shun, but it would have been an affectionate pat from a Bomber fan to a Bomber player. Ball comes to Florent, centre half back, kicks it towards the wing for the Swans. Race on. The 2 Irishmen, O'Riordan and McKenna. O'Riordan's got it, got away from McKenna, gave it to Papley. He handballed it inside to Dawson. He's 60 out, heads toward goal, and he's got it.
She's a good kick.
Yeah. First goal of his career for Dawson. And look at them come from everywhere from the Sydney Swans. Great scenes here. Not so good for Bomber fans. Swans lead by 2 goals, 6-4 to 4-6.
Well, they've started to outrun them. They're just winning everything. They can't mark the ball inside 50. Essendon, they've got to really try and set up something different in their forward line. I'm trying to find out, maybe just put players like Heppel to go forward when he comes off the ball. Maybe Goddard can go forward. Just smart players, because at the moment, they're just not doing it. I'm looking at Stringer. His body language is horrible. I don't know whether we've been told to take Alir out of the play, but at the moment he's got his head down, needs to lift for his team.
Might only be his second game, but he knows what to do, Shorey. Jordan Dawson straight off the ground after kicking a goal.
All right.
What do you reckon his nickname is, Beaver? Smokey?
Of course. Sydney, and good evening, Smoke, if you're listening. Jake Lloyd with the clearance, received the handball, long kick inside forward 50. McGrath at ground level, composed, took a bounce in fact. Little pass to McDonald, Tippenwoody, who took his eyes off the footy but recovered best. He then handballed to McGrath, low ball to right half forward. Probably going to favour Fox, who tried to go with some soccer tactics as opposed to picking it up. And now Essendon have got it. Stringer with a little pass to McDonald, Tippenwoody. It wasn't meant for him. Now in the hands of Hewitt. Kicks under pressure and kicks well across goal and finds Florent, who marks almost on the paint of defensive 50 on this Medallion Club side.
To Alir, half-back flank. And they want to go back to the open side if they can. He goes back to Lloyd. 2 minutes left as the Beeve told you to half-time. Held up Lloyd, and he comes to the dockside wing. High, McCartan stalks it. He's up. O'Riordan up with him. Ball thumped out of play, and we'll get a ball in Jackie Reid downstairs.
I'm just taking a look at Zach Merritt on the bench. He's absolutely fine, except for a shiner on his right eye, which could be something to do with the hit he copped earlier in the match from Zach Jones, which won't bode well for him.
Yes, of course. Doctor's report will be interesting. Ball knocked down by Belchambers. Got it to Heppel. Feeds it all the way back to Fantasia. Got away from a tackler. Gave it to Heppel. Feeds it on further on to Langford. He looks inboard. Still on the wing, by the way. Floats one high. Still on the wing. It'll be called play on. Looked like it went 15, but the umpire said no. Picked up by Myers. Flicks it out to Fantasia. Handball missed the target. Lloyd bumped off it by Sard. He spins back into it. Gave it up to Smith. Beautiful hands. Smith tucked up into the pocket. That would be the goal of the year. But it's another behind of the year. I hope they show a package of behinds of the year because there's been some rippers this year. 6-4 plays 4-7. Swans lead. 28 gone. Second for Tyre Power.
I think your point, Shorey, on the Bombers forward line is right. It just lacks any potency at the moment. Mitch Brown can't get into it. Stringer can't get into it. And they're the talls with no, obviously, McKernan, Danaher, James Stewart in the VFL.
Rampy with the 40-metre kick in to number 40 and Nick Smith. Long down the line. Off hands. McGrath. Handballs backwards to Hurley. Off a step. Kicks it inside forward 50. Stringer mistimed his jump at ground level. McDonald, Tip and Woody. Handball to Parrish. Handball to Bagley. Just overcooked it. Yeah, it was. And Bagley couldn't control it. He had Rampy for company. And it's out of bounds. 7 or 8 metres around for the Essendon goal. Right forward pocket. 52 seconds remaining till half-time. Sydney lead by 9 points.
You mustn't watch the front bar, Dwayne, do you?
Why is that?
They have the best points of the week.
Oh, do they?
Sam Pang, yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to have it. I do a show at night sometimes, sure. You know about it?
No, what is it? Yeah, I know about it.
Sinclair with the tap.
That finishes 8 o'clock.
Yeah, it's true.
The other show's on at 8:45.
Drive home to Geelong.
Oh, okay.
Down to Hewitt, kicks around the corner and Florent marks it left
You'd have a TV
halfback.
in your car, you're going that well.
Ball towards the wing. Off hands. No one can take the mark. Ball flicked down towards Sard. Seconds ticking down to 25. He's got it on the wing. Floats the little kid to Goddard. We're down to 20 seconds. Goddard runs to 50. He doesn't want to kick it long. He gave to McKenna. We're down to 15 seconds. He wobbles one. He clean bowls it through for a goal.
Oh, no.
That is a goal of the year contender. It was a mongrel, but it was the most beautiful looking mongrel you've ever seen. Clean bowled him, bounced through. Goal of the night. Pancake Parlour.
Well, it was like Daryl Cullinan facing Shane Warne, that was. The score came in, Rampy had
what a shocker.
no idea.
Oh, how great is this game?
So I just wonder, I was about to say Cale Hooker after half-time, whether they would be willing to put him forward.
Yeah.
Because that was just a lucky goal, but they've had no answers in their forward 50 for this second quarter.
But they're going to find themselves only 3 points in arrears, barring the cleanest of takeaways here. Well, mind you, the cleanest of takeaways from the Bombers, they might be in front. 10 seconds to go from the restart. Myers with a handball to Langford. Maybe they will get one last shot at it. High ball will land right on forward 50. Mitch Brown gave a big shove and free kick.
Free kick.
To the Swans, I think.
Free
No,
kick.
it's a free kick to Essendon.
Yeah, free kick.
So Mitch Brown, after the siren, with what will have to be, and he's gained a couple of metres here as well. Justin Schmidt is going to set the mark at about 48. So Mitch Brown with what will have to be a 51, 52 metre drop punt from directly in front can put the Bombers in front after the half-time siren. He loads up on his 50th game. It's straight. Is it long enough? We're going to be going to the video. That's a goal. They said stuff the video, it's a goal! And Essendon are in front at half-time.
I reckon they should check the audio of the free kick, whether the free kick was paid in time.
Well, that sums up the first half in that last 10 seconds. An incredible half, jam-packed full of incidents galore, a report before the game virtually got underway. Now a goal after the half-time siren. Injuries to both teams, and Mitch Brown in game number 50 gives the Bombers the lead after the half-time siren. 6-7-43 Essendon, 6-4-40 Sydney on the Tyre Power scoreboard. We might get a very quick comment from Lloydie before we take a break.
Well, I want to know also, do the umpires have an earpiece in? Because I don't think he was going to pay that and then paid it a second or two later, so I want to find that out.
He paid it after the siren sounded.
After the siren sounded. So, I think someone upstairs might have said to him, you've got to pay that free kick. But great first half, brilliant game of footy, not high scoring but intense. And we've got a huge second half coming up, Beaver.
Parrish, Sarakas, Bagley, Brown after the half-time siren. McDonald, Tipperwoody and McKenna, the goal kickers for the Bombers. For the Swans, Heaney, Papley, Sinclair, Parker, Newman and Dawson. So Buddy's been kept goalless. He's virtually kickless, Buddy. But at half-time, Essendon 6-7-43, Sydney 6-4-40 as we roll into our half-time wrap for Sheen Panel Service. And Friday night footy on 3AW for McDonald's.
3AW footy highlights for McDonald's.
He waited the pass. Parrish watched it float over his left shoulder and then took the easy chest mark for a late birthday present. Darcy Parrish, drop punt, is a goal. Bagley's there. Myers arrives, comes back to Bagley. Right foot snaps the goal. Handball to Nick Newman. He's a long kick. Steps inboard, steps outboard. He's on his left foot. Tight angle and kicks the goal of the night.
He handballed it inside to Dawson. He's 60 out, heads toward goal and he's got it.
She's a good kick.
First goal of his career for Dawson. And look at them come from everywhere. He gave to McKenna, went down to 15 seconds. He wobbles one. He clean bowls it through for a goal.
Oh, no.
That is a goal of the year contender. It was a mongrel, but it was the most beautiful looking mongrel you've ever seen.
Mitch Brown, after the siren, he loads up on his 50th game. It's straight. Is it long enough? We're going to be going to the video. That's a goal. They said stuff the video, it's a goal. And Essendon are in front at half-time.
Been a wild game to half-time. Half-time for Sheen Panel Service. Make sure you have choice of repairer so you can call Sheen Panel Service, sheengroup.com.au. Half-time, Bombers with 2 goals in the last 15 seconds of the game. Lead 6-7-43 to Sydney 6-4-40. It's been bizarre. It's been crazy. It's been with plenty of spice. But don't say we didn't warn you. Here's assistant coach for the Bombers, Mark Harvey, warning us there might be a little bit of niggle pre-game.
Harves, you just mentioned that it might happen tonight. Have you got someone in mind, have you, that you might target?
Well, it's not so much us, Lloydie. They actually, if you remember, it was a big part of their game last year. They haven't done it too much this year. But anyway, our blokes are fully prepared and they'll let their actions do the talking.
Who is that player the Swans targeted in the final? Is it McGrath?
No. It was, I think it was Merritt, wasn't it, from memory?
Merritt.
And then that might have been Fantasia. So anyway, we'll see what happens tonight.
You talk about that during the week?
Well, my personality would suggest I do.
So Mark Harvey pre-game on 3AW Football telling us, and it started before the opening bounce. Zach Jones had his number taken before the opening bounce to Sydney Swans for an elbow to the jaw. And we didn't even get a bounce to start it. It started with a free kick and a report. 6-7-43, 6-4-40. Bombers lead. To tell you more about it, Matty Lloyd and Tony Shaw.
Well, the inside 50s, Dwayno, for Corrimal Winter Caravans, 34 to Essendon, 18 to the Sydney Swans. And Shorey touched on it halfway through the second quarter. They've got to maybe look at the way they're going inside 50. Alir's been a real issue for Essendon. He's taken 7 marks in defence, 3 of them contested, 4 uncontested. They just couldn't get the ball past him. Look at some of the forwards for Essendon. Stringer, 4 disposals. Mitch Brown, 5 disposals. Brown got that goal after the siren. Even Mark Bagley, just the 5 disposals. Tipperwoody, 6. So although they've tackled well, the Bombers, they haven't really got reward for their effort. And it wasn't until they got a lucky goal from McKenna in the last minute and then a lucky goal to Brown with a free kick after the siren. So other than that, they had 4 goals from 32 inside 50. So that's an issue for them. But I think it's been a pretty even game. I think the Swans have been working pretty hard around the midfield area. But, Lance Franklin, Shorey, hasn't been able to touch it. But he hasn't had much supply from his midfield group who have just had the 18 inside 50s.
Well, 18 inside 50s, the thing is they've had 10 shots from it, so it's a pretty good return. That's one thing that, 60% of the time you go in there, you're having a shot, whereas 34 inside 50s for 13, so they're under 50 Essendon. They've got to try and do something about that, Essendon. And you mentioned Cale Hooker. I think he can go forward because there's not a real match-up for him. They don't need the big, tall player. Hurley's doing his job on Franklin. I couldn't believe that Johnny Longmire just didn't push him onto the ball for 5 or 7 minutes, even starting behind the square. And if Hurley's down that end, I'll tell you what, I'd be worried having Franklin coming off the half-back line and at least setting something up different. We've liked the way that the game's been played, that no one had a +1. Sometimes you've got to invent something to get them in. I think the ruck area's been really tight. Sinclair, up against Bell Chambers. I think Sinclair probably got the best of it with kicking that goal, but Bell Chambers really worked hard in that second quarter. Goddard's been a good player coming off halfback. Heppel's just accumulating the ball in midfield. Not a lot of hard tags, you would think. But the defenders, you have a look at it. Dane Rampy, we talked about Lear, but Dane Rampy's had 12 possessions, so he's been a real driving force for them coming out of the back half. They need, I would think, to really make sure that every time they keep that return of 60-odd% going inside 50 to score the Swans, because you can't just win it off 18. If that translates into the same second half, you're talking 36 inside 50s. I don't care how good you're going, you're going to have to do everything right.
Yeah, yep, you're right, sure. And the criticism of John Longmire is he doesn't try enough. You know, he's got one plan, he sticks to it, and I think Lance Franklin's a good point. Like, if they can't get some supply in the first 5 or 6 minutes, they need to put him into the game and try and see if they can, even if it's for 5 minutes, off the back of the square, off the wing, even a few centre bounces, which would really help him. So, you know, I don't like the discipline of Zach Jones or undiscipline of Zach Jones. In my opinion, he does miss a week for just striking a player before the bounce. I think Jackie Reid spoke for black eye of merit. I'm not sure if it came from that incident, but he'd be concerned about that one. And we also saw a trip from Devon Smith on Luke Parker. I think it's more a fine.
Unnecessary, but they had problems with the other one last week. Do you have to break someone's leg to get a suspension? Hopefully, I think he will get off it. But, the other one is Aliir. He's only had 7 possessions. No, sorry, he's had 8 possessions, Lordy, but bloody hell, it's been a good 8 possessions because he's had 7 marks in that. I'm just thinking whether they've got to say to Stringer, we know he's an enigmatic player. You want him to have an impact, but maybe you've got to be unselfish. Whoever goes to Aliir, I'd be saying drag him to the back square so he can't come off. What he does laterally, he's been really helping out his teammates and leaving his man. When you're deep, you can't do it as much. So just a couple of little things within this game. But 6 goals to 6 at half-time. Not a high-scoring game, but, gee, it's been entertaining.
Yeah, Beaver, I'd love to see, from a Bombers perspective, Mitch Brown go back or leave him forward and put Aaron Francis to Tom McCartan and load up and put Hooker in that forward line as well.
Plenty more twists and turns to come in the second half after a thrilling first half. And the Bombers lead it by 3 points at half-time after trailing by 9 points with about 15 seconds to go in that second quarter. A fluker's goal to Connor McKenna and then a free kick right on the siren. Mitch Brown converting from 52 metres after the siren. And Essendon lead at 6-7-43 to Sydney 6-4-40. In that second term, the Bombers added 4 goals 4 while the Swans added 3 goals 1. Remember tomorrow, folks, as if you forget that it's Richmond Collingwood, 3AW on air from midday from the Melbourne Cricket Ground, and the only station with all the post-game analysis. We'll be giving score updates from the Giants and the Saints at Spotless Stadium, but staying at the MCG for both press conferences, plenty of post-game interviews and plenty of feedback from you, the fans, ahead of or after what is going to be one of the games of the season. A sold-out Melbourne Cricket Ground, the Tigers and the Magpies opening bounce tomorrow, 1:45. You'll hear all the action on your number one station for football, and that is 3AW. Of course, the big one tomorrow night as well, the Crows and the Demons from the Adelaide Oval. Half-time for Sheen panel service. Let's take a break from Etihad Stadium. We'll head back to 3AW Towers and into the newsroom and say a very good evening to Liz Kefford.